What's up, and welcome to the Week 6 SPL recap. My name is Austin, and I am depressed. I am joined here by two other people who are probably depressed, at least for SPL circumstances. I got the regulars, Ham and Colin, and then we got Eric coming in on back-to-back weeks. Eric, how does it feel to be the only
Hello.
person on this podcast who might be in Tier 1 of SPL next season?
I am so happy.
Well, that's great, Eric. So on that note, let's just go go into the
Listen,
results.
I was slandered so much at the beginning of this season. I'm so happy to continue to win and be in the top.
That's great, buddy. Let's get into the results. So this week was interesting because pretty much like every game we were split 50-50 on predictions. So it was projected to be a very close week. And then ended up not really being the case. There were, some very close series where both games were decided only by one game. But 5 of the 6 were just two games. So first game we kicked off was the Flying Dutchman versus the Goose Crusade. This was the battle for the top of the spellcasters. Eric, just thoughts and feelings as you guys pulled this one out.
I was definitely worried because I know there were some games where Wario could just absolutely show out. But as we got the first 2 goals of the first game, my confidence skyrocketed. I was very happy when my team made a statement of getting a 3-strike mega strike at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think it was the first ever 6-3 overtime win. But also it's a little weird. Boo should not be affected by the mud. But anyway. You must have been a little bit worried when there was a very quiet comeback beginning to form. But you guys did get the exclamation point. Did end up winning the second game. Does anyone have any other thoughts and feelings about this? I know Colin, this game could really affect the two of us less. Hamilton, this also doesn't really affect you at this
What?
point, strangely enough.
I don't know what you could be referring to.
Yeah. But, this is two teams with two very high draft picks and, not terrible sidekicks just going at it. Yeah. Next game actually might have been, even though it wasn't a 3-game series, might have been my favorite of the week. We had the brother off, where we even had the big off.
The big off.
And
I'd
Hamilton,
like to
you already know the question that's coming your way.
I'd like to state before I get the question that I do think Luigi won the big off. Despite not scoring, I do think that he had the better big when they were both big.
We're gonna have to find this. I don't remember which map it was on.
I thought it was Wastelands.
Because there was definitely one chance. Okay, Luigi's got a big here. Okay,
They both have big. This might have been when they didn't use it. I think it was later in the game.
yeah.
Yeah. Mario
got
pops
wasted
his here, and then Dry Bones teleports in.
Yeah.
And then
But and then there's I wish this was every series. We should just only play with Mario Brothers captains. Just the sheer amount of excitement.
I think next season you have to have a Mario Bro, and you can either use Koopa or Shy Guy. Only balance on the field. Nothing else. Everyone runs the same team.
This confused me live, and as I watch it in replay, I have I have no more information. I guess it was the pop of the shell.
The shell popped.
But it's like delayed. Imagine if
also, like Dry Bones goes up and bikes it over Critter's head, which is criminal to do if you're actually on a soccer field in my mind.
That just sounds like a solid defensive play to me.
Show me the big off.
That is what I'm navigating for. Okay, we gotta. It's on the board. Mario goes first. I'm gonna keep this running in slow motion. Actually, I might slow it down even more.
Oh God, this is great for the audio listeners.
Yeah, so let me break this down play by play. We have two large Mario brothers. Luigi just hit a massive slide tackle. Mario is down in shambles. Luigi now jumps on Drybone's head, very much a canon interaction. Mario's doing absolutely nothing, sliding around, and his power-up is gone. Ball gets back to Luigi. No goal. I don't think there's any goal that comes this, but definitive win from Luigi.
No goal. But I did, like I said, I think that he did indeed win the big off. He was the better big. I believe the question that is coming my way is, does Reed pay any attention to what's going on or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And I texted him before the series, before even Eric's series, and was like, hey, just a reminder, because he hadn't submitted a roster in a couple weeks. And I would never forget to submit a roster.
No, never.
But he did tell me that he was paying attention, and he just liked how his team was doing on his picks. And, you know, after this series, you can't really fault him for that. Like, why would he ever go away from Wastelands? Granted, there was a higher percentage chance that if he doesn't, it'll get banned. But
I will say this series was shrouded in controversy by the great Google form debacle of 2025. There will be a massive asterisk stamped on Reed making playoffs if this is the deciding game. But anyway, Colin, I want to get your thoughts. There does seem to be you're a stat guy, right? There does seem to be an inverse relationship between time and energy put into SPL and success to some point. Do you see any validity to that looking at the current standings?
You know, looking at the current bottom four, it's probably the four people who think about it the most. And, you know, you, me, Hamilton, and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we've got Mr. Shy Guy, Mr. Monty, both in top two, who haven't made a roster change in a long time. We've got Danny, who hasn't made a roster change all season, and Reed, who hasn't made a roster change all season, all currently sitting in the automatic playoff spots. You know, it certainly seems like there's some level of a relationship there.
For season 3, we're going to have a neural link attached to everyone for the entire season that tracks thoughts about SPL per hour. So get ready for that, because this is important data that needs to be found out.
I would say correlation does not equal causation, and there's also a very large correlation in what captain where in the draft you were picking. That's only thrown off by Hamilton because he didn't pick a captain in the first round.
Thoughts on that, Hamilton?
Great decision. Let me tell you, this is not a captain-driven league at all. You can win a game with a princess. Ask David. We've now both had both.
Can you win a game with a pink princess?
I don't think you can win a game with either princess. I don't know what the heck David did.
Eric also got to win with a princess.
You cannot forget that I won the toilet bowl last season.
You also beat Jacob last week.
I did beat Jacob.
Or last season.
Look, I don't need this information right now. Okay?
Well, let's move on and talk about a series that was definitely not decided by a captain difference. We had Colin
I
versus
would say it
Grant.
wasn't. It was decided by the fact that my team lost a 2v4 against two Birdos.
Let's go ahead and run the run the footage. Colin, you want to break this one down?
No.
Okay. Well, the did takes away Bowser Jr. and Shy Guy. Theoretically, probably the perfect abduction to get. It is a 4v2 with the Birdos having to work the ball out the back with no passing ability or speed to make it up the field. Critter dishes it to one Birdo. They slowly pass it to the other, back and forth in front of their own net. Then the Did gets rinsed. Hits a slow chip pass downfield where the entire time the ball is floating, Hammer Bro is within hit range of the Birdo. He decides to just watch, and then Birdo slams a bike in from half field. And that probably killed Colin's season right there.
I'd like to add that Berto adds some insult to injury. After the ball goes in the net, she red shells Hammer Bro.
Which shouts out to the cameraman for getting that perfectly in frame. And then we're unable to get the job done. What do you think of non Goose Crusade Shy Guys, Eric? Because I feel like I'm getting a mixed vibe from you.
I mean, I think singly their performance is just not as good as the teamwork of a triple, but as Colin has stated in the past, a triple makes things very wonky, especially stat wise. But
Yeah, and if you look at the non Goose Crusade Shy Guys, they both are pretty
They score.
Yeah, sitting solidly in terms of statistics, not doing bad, just kind of role players on Grant and Adam's team. So, Shy Guy stocks overall, not in a bad place, but it is kind of tragic that Colin, I think there still is a path for you. Probably not into top 2, but probably into 4th place. Who do you play for the rest of the season?
Reed and Dan.
Yeah.
He's got quite the gauntlet to get through.
Very simple path.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hope Dan's resting his starters in the last week.
The fact that Danny's team, just with his build, gets that much value. Oh my god, I hate this league. But anyway, next game was Jacob versus Dave. Another tale of captain's diff. I think the biggest storyline out of this is the Thunder Island Yoshi bug was not debunked because it still seems to exist, but it is not a guarantee. Hamilton, do you think it is a good idea to take Jacob to this map?
As a princess, I don't think it matters.
Is that just your answer to every question I have about your team?
Maybe. But I will say I think that Jacob, I think it's not a terrible idea to take, like, if it's a close matchup or you're favored, I don't think it's a terrible idea to take Yoshi here. Knowing the egg won't work every time, but also knowing, like, it might not work is a little bit of reprieve in my mind. It's like, hey, you've got a chance. That being said, you also then run the risk of if the egg does work, you might not have all 4 people on the field.
Right.
Which is alarming because he could very easily capitalize on that.
This is one of 2 maps that he does not have a positive winning percentage on.
Keep that in mind.
Good stats. Yeah, which, previous weeks he could not egg on here. So
all of a sudden he could. And it really bit Dave in the butt, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he also didn't score a goal. I mean, I don't know if Dave wins out, he has a path, right? We did that math yesterday.
Dave technically has a path.
Yeah, but he has to win out.
Just to win out,
Hamilton,
he needs some help.
the first team, I believe, fully eliminated from tier
Well,
tier one. Not even just
I,
promotion, but even just the playoffs, the pro rel
I,
crunch
I
match.
would I would like to clarify that this is not my team currently playing.
Yeah, but it's just a talking point.
Okay.
I mean, we can. That's actually that's a great segue, Hamilton. Now you have to talk about your team. Um,
Thanks.
almost mirror matchup against the defending champs. Um, Hamilton, do you have any parting words from SPL top tier play?
Daisy got a goal this week, showing that she can score. And then after that, it's stay away from the princesses. I really thought that I could be successful if I got. There's a part of my mind that's like dry bones is more valuable than a captain, especially a mid-tier captain. Let me tell you, that's wrong. That's just wrong. Um, Shouts out to Freddie. He put together a squad that could absolutely wipe the floor with Daisy. And you know, at a certain point, you just gotta tip your hat and move on. Uh, yeah, yeah.
I feel like Freddie deserves a lot of credit for the turnaround of his team, or that also could just come down to the fact that he went from interconference to conference play. Uh,
No.
I think Fred's just a second half manager. Think about what he did last season.
he's a tinker. He's a tinker man. Eric usually has some thoughts about Waluigi. Do you see this team as a playoff threat, Eric?
No, I don't.
Let's see. Do you guys play each other in the end of the season, or have you already played?
We play each other next week.
Yeah, I was
Next
gonna
week.
say. I feel like that's coming up, and that'll probably be the first real test that Freddie's had. Um,
What do you mean?
which Freddie does finish off with PD and Wario. So, like I said, the Renaissance may have a bit to do with who he's played against than what he's actually done. So
You
the
telling
litmus
me
test.
Dave has a chance?
Dave plays against, which we're gonna have a whole conversation about playoff. Dave plays against you and Eric. So take that as having a chance as you want.
I see Eric throwing against Dave just so that way Dave makes playoffs.
I will say it is criminal to others that I play against Peach twice.
What?
And that was it for week 6. Solid week all around. Got a good playoff picture. Metastasizing. Colin has fallen behind the chase in predictions.
As well as everything else.
I think that to be eligible for the golden picker, I feel like you probably have to have predicted in 50% of the games at least. I think percentage wise, Eric is probably pretty close, but he's going to need to be more consistent in the last couple weeks to get eligibility there, because right now he's only at 7 for 12, which is good. Our guarantees are currently the highest percentage, which is exciting. It shows we know a thing about strikers.
Not how to build a team.
Nope.
No.
Overperformer of the week.
Bowser.
Yeah. Fuck me.
Not that Bowser's bad, but Bowser hadn't really done anything special. And he went off this week.
Yeah, which I appreciate you guys not just allowing my segue to go through of not talking about that series. But yeah, the good note was that Bowser went crazy in mega strikes in a way that he hadn't. Man scored like 7 across the first 2 games. Absolutely absurd. You know, it's getting a little redundant, but Luigi, um, I think
What?
scored all 4 of his team's goals in the brother off and won the big off.
I don't think that's a correct stat. Not that you're ever wrong, but I don't think that's a correct stat.
in Wasteland?
He did score all 4 Wasteland goals in 2 of 4
That's my bad.
Mama Pit goals.
He's never wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Anyone else got any shouts?
Daisy. Fair enough.
Mr. Monty continues to always output the highest impact of any non-captain.
Yeah, he went crazy this week. I'm gonna give a shout to all of Fredchester. I'm also gonna put here my toad, well, Terry, for being absolutely worthless this entire season.
I would like to put power play defense on underperformer of the week. Specifically, not the penalty kill team, the power play defense. Up a man.
Anyone got anything else? Anyone else jaded about anything?
Is Terry the underperformer of the week or just the whole season?
Whole season.
I mean, pretty much all of these are just like the first couple are all season long things.
True.
So I tried to tell you guys, toads aren't all as cracked up as you make them out to be.
It's just a completely different meta. If you have dry bones on the field, then toes and boos are more valuable.
Yeah.
But anywho, freaking Danny is still running the league with a team of no speed characters, just making season 1 feel completely redundant. Shouts out to anonymous jackalope. Okay. We'll go into our tier list next. So we're gonna loop back to what we had done earlier in the season of basically trying to rank off our playoff predictions. So this is just purely who we think, like, where they're gonna finish at the end of the season. And you can see that the teams on the left side are the MFMK, and the teams on the right are the Spellcasters. So we can start off with the MFMK. Does anyone have any immediate movements that they'd like to make?
I'd like to move Luigi up. I would also like to move myself to the bottom.
Are we done?
I think that you need to move up. I honestly think that you should still be in 3.
Who do you have left, Austin? You have Garrett, and you have the Bros.
I got the Bros.
How
It's
many
really gonna
wins?
come down to them.
How many wins does Bowser Jr. have right now?
4.
Through 4.
He has 4 and 2.
I would put Mario at 5. DK at 4.
I will relinquish my fate to you guys. Does anyone have any changes to make here?
Are you in 5th right now in standings off goal differential?
Yep.
And it's a goal?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's one singular goal.
Which is because I got beaten 6-0 in map 2 this week.
But you do severely control your own fate with a game against Garrett.
Trust Dallas.
Who does Grant still have to play? He plays Garrett and Danny.
Dan. Yeah.
There still is like everything to play for. I do think that Reed is the second, both in terms of what he's shown and probably where he'll finish.
And also remaining strength of schedule. He's
Yeah.
got me, and then he's got you, which will still be a good game to end it. But
And then Garrett plays
I mean,
against me and Grant. So it really just comes down to, obviously one of these teams could steal it from Luigi if he loses to you.
yeah.
But it comes down to these three teams just slugging it out for automatic relegation versus promotion relegation. And honestly, that 3 spot versus the 4 spot is going to be massive because you go from playing against Yoshi versus someone who's a
Yeah.
little bit faster than Yoshi, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
But for
I
MFMK,
will
are
point
y'all?
out.
Hold on. Have we? Sorry, I was distracted. Have we done the spellcasters yet?
No.
No.
I was about to ask
Okay.
if we're good to transition over there.
I was gonna say that.
Daisy should go to the bottom.
No, I was still on Mushroom Kingdom. That if Danny somehow trips and falls a little bit, because he did lose a conference game already, the tiebreakers aren't really in his favor. So if somehow if he drops a game and then Reed and Grant win out, Danny could drop out of the top 2.
I don't think that's happening. But
I don't think it is either, but
yeah,
it's mathematically there. He would only need to lose one if they take care of business.
just having, a comeback mechanic built into your captain is just so freaking huge, and he's just never ever out of a game. And the team somehow works. We can go over to spellcasters now. Just so Eric doesn't have to do it. I think that results and everything speak for that.
Yeah.
He should be on top.
Clinch top 2.
Should Mr. Monty go to 2? Should Daisy really stay at 4? These are the questions that everyone's asking.
Which Adam and Jacob play head to head this week, and they're both 3-3.
Separated by 7 goals, though. Tough.
I think Fred should move up to 4.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
That's pretty easy. I'm fine with Jacob going to the 2 spot. You know,
He's
Do
there.
we want to switch the princesses?
Yes.
Dave has a win, and I have a feeling
Dave does have a win.
he got a win in week 1, and I don't know if Ham's gonna get one win to pass him.
I'll tell you
Although
how
they
it's
play
gonna
each other.
happen.
They play
That's
against
it.
each other.
One of them's got to get a win.
Yeah.
Question
then,
I'm gonna ask you: do you think Peach with 2 dry bones is better than Daisy with my team?
We'll get to that with the predictions.
Yeah, we're gonna predict that head. A lot of these rankings actually. So many of these games actually still lie in the last couple weeks.
Oh, we forgot to do player transfers. There was a really big one before this past week. Ham picked up a toad instead of a boo. It was the only movement.
Let me tell you, that made a difference too. Not the slightest.
Is this what we're locking in?
Yeah.
Are we?
No, switch Yoshi up.
Oh yeah, sorry, forgot about that. I was about to ask if
we-
we're sleeping on Fred, but he has a -7 goal differential compared to both.
And he plays Goose and Dutchman, or Goose and Monty.
Yeah, he plays PD and Wario remaining.
I kind of want to do a real quick exercise where we rank the positions, if that makes sense. Just going head to head down the
All right.
thing. So, top spot, Bowser versus PD. Thoughts?
Pulling up the interconference schedule. I would
Really a
lean
coin flip.
Bowser.
And this, I want you to think about like head to head, not like finishing position. This is just if these two teams played next week, who would win?
I think Dan would win.
I would
I don't
also
want
go
to.
Dan.
I don't want to
Barry.
say it, but I think it's Eric.
I appreciate Hamilton.
Eric, what are your thoughts?
And all quite honestly, I think I could pull it out in 3.
Okay. I'm gonna try and bring this over live. We'll see what the display is. How does that look? Oh, that's actually really good. All right,
And the
Eric,
coin.
heads or tails?
Tails.
All right. Danny wins.
Shit. Shit.
In the 2 spot, we got Mighty Luigi versus Come On Mr. Monty.
Take Luigi.
The only thing that's interesting about this is that Jacob's permaban is now Wastelands.
True.
So that does shake things up a little bit. I think I probably still take Mighty Luigi. The question is how much do we think he's actually dependent on Wastelands? Because I wonder what his win rate is on other maps.
Give me 15 seconds.
So he is 50% on Vanilla, Crystal, Lava, 0% on Dump, and 100% on Wastelands. So
yeah,
he has 6 wins and 6 losses on every other map essentially, and then he is 5-0 on Wastelands.
6 and 8 on other maps.
6 and 8 on other maps. That's not great.
No.
And if you were playing against, like an Adam or someone who doesn't know to ban Wastelands, or even Jacob like 2 weeks ago when he thought that he was banning it but wasn't, that might sway me. Does any Hamilton, Eric, either of you guys have any thoughts?
I still think it's Luigi. I just the way Luigi is scoring goals from open play, I don't really think the map matters.
That is a take that was just the evidence was just presented against that, but I respect it.
I'm aware, but as I stated at the beginning of this podcast, this is not a data-driven league.
No, totally not.
Eric, Luigi versus Mr. Monty.
Point one, I think it's slandering to just say Mr. Monty and not, the captain. But
Well, the team name is Come On Mr. Monty.
I think Yoshi would win too. So honest, I have faith.
Colin, do you have
I would
another?
like to point out they did play each other, and Jaco won 4-1 and 7-2.
Okay.
And we do.
So I'm gonna go with Mighty Luigi. Colin, I take it you're doing the same.
Yeah, even despite the previous result where Jaco kind of wiped the floor with him.
Next one doesn't really make sense, but I feel like you have to go Lemons over Flying Dutchman because the Lemons are 4-2 in a harder conference, and I think that they beat the Flying Dutchman.
Hamilton, which one is Lemons?
That is true.
Lemons is Bowser Jr.
And who is the team
There you
manager?
go.
It is Grant.
Huge.
I have no reasoning for this, but I really think it's hard to argue for Wario over Bowser Jr.
I would agree.
I would also agree to that.
I like Wario's team better, but the results say it's Bowser Jr.
Next
has
game, I
minimized
will hand the microphone to the table.
Austin, you've minimized your application. I don't want to sit tight anymore.
If this one doesn't go to the ZDs, I have questions.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
I will. If that one doesn't go to the ZDs, I will feel vindicated in the fact that I took a dry bones in the first round.
I feel like
that's
I
the
feel like
easiest DK of all time.
yeah.
Okay, let's open up the floor for the next one. Anyone have
Mario.
thoughts? Um, anyone have a counterpoint to Colin's incredible analysis? Nope. Okay.
Peaches won a series, I think, next week.
That final one, the Did versus Daisy.
Tough one here. Diddy.
Gotta give it to Diddy.
Did you play against Daisy?
No, I didn't. I didn't get either of the princesses.
Okay.
It still went 2-1 in the other conference, which shows what the other conference looks like. I
Yeah,
beat their
and, and,
current.
and, and you beat Come On Mr. Monty, right?
I beat Colin, Mr. Monty, and Fred Chester, and I'm winless in our own conference.
So this was supposed to be a genuine thought experiment. But we have not moved anything. Just position by position, we have the MFMK is better. And I think the only one that really is a true coin flip is the top one.
Or the Luigi Yoshi, I think there's a debate there since
Yeah.
Yoshi did beat Luigi.
But I would say there's it's probably like a 55-45 at least for Luigi based off
Yeah.
results.
So we can safely conclude that the Spellcasters is just a tougher conference.
I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes to the playoff game or the play-in game.
Play-in game.
I guess the play-in game is, I guess, the correct name. You know, maybe Fred shocks the world and we get 4 spellcasters in the playoffs, and the bottom division next year is just the Mushroom Kingdom.
Well, next week maybe we'll do like a comprehensive list of just like all teams ranked. But this is both our playoff predictions for each conference, and coincidentally, it's also our standings matchup between each conference. Really good stuff. But we'll go ahead and hop into Preds. Shouts out to I believe it's probably Colin. Who
No, that's Ham.
Thank you, Ham. For doing that. All right. Well, obviously,
Before we get into Preds, I've got a question.
Mhm.
Austin, you sent out a message this morning asking if anyone wanted to trade anything. What are you open to accepting? Like, I'm
no.
assuming it's not a princess.
It would have to be the right conditions for a princess. That's including at least 2 dry bones, and then my ability to get a third sidekick that complements that. So
Understood.
yeah. But I also am interested in sidekick changes. However, just somehow, some way, from week 1 to week 6, my sidekicks have gone from having insane trade value to literal 0. So really great stuff.
Oh yeah, you have 2 passers. Don't you?
Yeah. Which I thought that I had the perfect draft in terms of both my team and also potential changing down the line, but apparently I sat on it for too long. It is crazy how different the season 2 meta is. It doesn't even feel like I was about to say playing the same game. It doesn't even feel like we're watching the same game. Like I just don't get it. Eric versus Fred. There's a little terminology we like to use in SPL called Captain Diff. And that's going to hold true here. This is the rematch of the championship from season 1 in terms of a captain perspective. but very, very, very different teams, and significantly less dry bones on the side of the field. Ham, who are you taking?
Strange feeling this one's gonna be colored orange in a minute, but let's go Eric in 2.
Colin?
Yeah.
Eric?
Me too.
Colored
The orange
orange.
one.
Eric, it was nice having you. Have a good run, but we suck at absolute guarantees.
Well, we got one last week.
Yeah.
We're fine except for Adam versus Grant that
Yeah.
one time.
We're we're two and three.
That week doesn't count.
But yeah, no, we have all taken Eric in 2. Now we get to a far more interesting series. We have Garrett versus me. This is 4 versus 5. Both teams 3 and 3. I think are we separated by a goal difference of 1?
Goal difference of 1. Same number of conference wins. Probably the loser of this is probably eliminated.
Yeah. Well, I think Garrett and I are both equally in despair. I'm gonna hedge the bet of my happiness and predict Garrett in 3. Just because when I inevitably lose another Game 3 series by 1 goal, at least I'll have gotten the prediction right, and I can get that momentary dopamine kick. Ham?
We've got a strange feeling that some magic's going to happen and Garrett's roster is not going to be received again. No. Give me Garrett in 2. I don't like saying that. I don't love that prediction, but
I respect it.
I don't think we're going to 3 anymore.
I would actually be stoked if I lost a game in 2.
I think these 2 teams have have some of the more heartbreaking losses. I'm gonna go Austin in 3.
That has never happened.
No.
Austin in 3.
Okay, split across the board. Jeez, we got some banger games. Adam versus Jacob.
That's a big game. This is a huge game.
I'd like to help Eric out and tell him that this is Wario.
I knew that, unlike a certain someone does sometimes.
Flying
Winner
Dutchman
of this
versus Mr.
probably
Monkey.
gets the bye
Yeah.
and avoids the play-in game.
Well, Adam will not change his map picks at all. So,
What are his map picks? Lava Pit, banning Storm Ship.
yeah. I feel like Jacob's team has kind of been like a Shakespearean tragedy. I think I go Adam here. I'll go in 2.
Jacob in 3.
Oh yeah.
Time season's done.
Thank you.
I'll take Adam in 3.
Eric?
Jacob in 2.
I can guarantee you I will be banning Wastelands. If that affects any layer of prediction here.
It was banned against him one time? He's 5-0, so I'm assuming it got banned once. Or is it not even his first pick?
No, it's his.
I know that it was his first pick week 1.
That's he is the mighty Luigi. He has been banned before, and he lost his map pick. They're like his second choice. I don't know what it was, but I could figure it out.
Let's look at a little bit of history here. So last week was a 2. Okay. So
Oh, week 1, he picked vanilla.
we went from predominantly 2-game series, predominantly 3-game, to
And he got
50-50
banned
split.
week 2.
So I think we're due for a 50-50 split. So I'm just gonna alternate between 2-map and 3-map series. It's about the level of analysis I have for this at this point.
Give me
Hamilton, what are you
Reed in
taking?
2.
Read in 2.
Eric?
Colin in 3.
Shuts down the guarantee. Respect. Now this is the game that everyone wants to watch.
Yes.
Can Peach get her first ever series win with 2 dry bones?
The 2 people who passed up on DK and the Mario Bros. For that tasty dry bones that Hamilton doesn't even have on his roster anymore.
I forgot that Dave picked Daisy over Mario, didn't he?
Ham traded his first round pick for a 4th round pick. I guess he traded his first
No,
and a
I
4th,
think
or third and a 4th.
everyone was gone except for the princesses by the time either of them picked a captain. But they both Mario. Was Luigi available for both of y'all? I think he was.
I had a lot of people
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
We know you
Gino
did.
was still
Both
We
available.
know you
both
did.
bros and then DK was available for Dave, and then both bros, DK and Bowser Jr. were available for Hamilton.
I would like to continue to state that if the season unfolded like it had previously, I don't know that getting a dry bones early would have been a bad decision.
No, I think it was a risky decision, but it made sense. Like you said, your idea was just that dry bones held more value than mid tier captains, which when you can't stack dry bones, just unfortunately is not true. Um. So Hamilton is Daisy double power with a toad. Hamilton is not Hamilton. David is double dry bones. I'm going Ham. Unless David secures a change, I don't think that you can win without a single shooter.
Colin, can I ask who's on the waivers?
There's a Monty and 3 pastors.
2 boos and a toad.
2 boos and a toad, yes.
Okay.
And the Monty was my former Monty, who has never once found the back of the net.
Okay. I'm gonna go Dave in 2.
He wants to see history.
Give me a Ham in 3.
Eric,
Dave in 3. Peach will get a win.
Bowser versus Bowser Jr. We essentially saw this before. With a different flavor of who was it? No? Oh no, that was I was saying we saw a game early in the season where where everyone was powerful and balanced on the field, and PD won that handily. I mean, I have to go Danny because if Grant wins, then playoffs get even crappier in MFMK.
If Grant and Reed both win, then the loser of you and Garrett is eliminated.
Yeah, so I got to go for Danny. Hamilton.
Dan in 2.
Grant and 3.
Dan in 3.
Only one guarantee this week. And it is absolute. One of those probably maybe should be another guarantee. But Eric has defended that. But we're approaching the home stretch of the season. Only 2 more weeks. Next week we're gonna start to talk about All-Star Weekend, and as part of the pod, we'll show off our nominations. So that'll be fun. Also, too, progressively as Colin, Hamilton, and I fall further and further down the table, the battle for the golden picker will become more and more important. Because theoretically, after this week, that could be all that any of us are fighting for.
Yeah.
We really need to bring some more people who are successful onto the pod. Just people who have who have more hope. Eric, do you have hope?
I have a lot of hope. My team has time and time again proved everyone wrong when everyone said it's a shit draft. My hope has skyrocketed with each game.
And I think I'll end the podcast with that moment captured forever. Hold on to hope, everyone. Be like Eric.